things are better. I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rip'n Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rip'n Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Hello.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Lasers.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rip'n Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are carrying on our weekly series on the state of mystery. This time we're going to jump from the frozen wilderness of Alaska down to the hot sandy deserts of Arizona. There's so many paranormal stories out of Arizona, and the aliens seem to love that area for some reason. We're going to get into all that more here in just a moment, but first, today in history. That's right, on this day in 1868, Christopher Latham Sholes patents the Sholes and Glidden typewriter, the first commercially successful typewriter of its kind. The reason being, it was the first time that the QWERTY keyboard was used. And to this day, it is the standard for keyboards. So if you do not like the QWERTY keyboard, blame Mr. Christopher Latham Sholes. And that is today's Today in History. I don't know, it was never easy for me to learn the QWERTY keyboard. I took a little bit of typewriting and stuff in high school, a little bit, like a week or two. But it was never easy for me to learn the QWERTY keyboard. I've eventually taught myself by memory how to do it, but it's not one of my favorites, right? Like type in Arizona. You have to literally dance from the left all the way around the keyboard, all over the keyboard to get all the letters for the word Arizona. So yeah, it's I don't know, not one of my favorites. What do you guys think? You like the way the keyboard's set up, or would you rather have A, B, C, D, the standard classic keyboard? I think that'd be easier for me. What about you guys? Speaking of Arizona, before we get into our topic tonight, we have one more segment to do.
Say what?
You know, in 2 states that I've lived in, we've had the same quote. If you don't like the weather, stick around a couple minutes, it'll change. Well, in Arizona, it isn't quite like that. Arizona has a different kind of quote. Their quote goes like this: "Welcome to Arizona, where summer spins the winter and hell spins the summer." That's right, end quote. And that is actually attributed to an unknown author. And ladies and gentlemen, that is today's segment of
Say What?
And as hot as it is a fascinating place, Arizona. Of course, we know places like Sedona, right? Sedona, Arizona, and the energy vortexes that are known to surround all of the area of Sedona, Arizona. A lot of you I know have been there. I personally haven't yet. That's one trip that I do plan on making eventually. Sedona, Arizona. That's one of them I would love to go to. just to enjoy the energy vortexes that do exist there, just to experience them myself, right? Wouldn't you guys love to go, if you hadn't already, go to experience the energy vortexes? I hear it's absolutely incredible. Well, apparently, humans aren't the only ones that think that these vortexes are quite incredible. You see, Arizona has its own slew of cryptid creatures.
While looking for cryptids in Arizona, one thing became very clear. This state has quite a few that are the flying variety. In fact, about over 50% of the list consists of these type of creatures.
And of course, as we know, the Native Americans have a lot of stories of creatures like the thunderbird that were extremely large birds, and actually called thunderbird because when they flapped their wings, it would cause a sound like thunder. And just a real quick side note, the person you're listening to tonight, and we've been using quite a bit here lately, is named Ben Miller. Go check out his YouTube channel if you would, guys. Give him some love over there. He does a great job on paranormal and cryptid videos, and we've used his work here more than once, so huge shout out Ben Miller YouTube channel. Go check him out over there, ladies and gentlemen. We would appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure Ben would probably appreciate that too. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, back to our list of incredibly creepy and crazy cryptids of Arizona.
The first one I would like to talk about is the cryptid known as the yo-yo. There isn't a lot of information about this one, but many describe it as basically being a version of the Mothman, but it has some peculiar habits.
It appears that the Mothman was in more than just West Virginia, because we've heard about him already a couple of times in this state-by-state mystery series.
This creature has been spotted in Springerville, Nogales, and St. John's. It is said to be 6 to 7 feet tall, have gray or black skin, large wings, red eyes, and long claws. Much like the Mothman from West Virginia, there haven't been any reports of it attacking anyone.
And the Mothman has always been an odd cryptid for that nature right there. The fact that it's always been seen as an omen. It's never really attacked a human. It's scared quite a few humans by seeing it, but it's never really attacked a human. It's always been considered just this bad omen of something to come, and normally something bad does come.
In most sightings, it is said to make meals out of roadkill, which sounds really similar to another Arizona cryptid I'll talk about later briefly, called the Bobo.
The Yo-Yo and the Bobo. I mean, at least they got civil names, right?
According to legends, this cryptid has a long history with the native Hopi tribe, where at one point they felt the need to banish it through rituals. Whether this is true or not is undetermined, but on January 1st of 2017, a man named Richard Christensen posted an image he caught in Phoenix that may have been this elusive creature. Many claim that what he took a picture of was a palm tree, but there are a few things about that explanation that don't add up for me.
Why is it that the worst photos ever are always the photos of paranormal evidence, right? Those are always the blurriest and the hardest to make out. I personally have not seen this picture in which he is referencing, so I have no idea what it is, but it seems to me from the sound of it, if it can't be told if it's a palm tree or a creature, it must not be the clearest picture of all time, right?
The next cryptid is a really strange situation that I didn't even plan on. Thunderbirds are quite prominent in the mysterious history of Arizona, but little did I know this went a step farther. First, Thunderbirds have been spotted all over the world, and they are basically giant birds that are powerful enough to lift a human into the air, and are said to be fairly aggressive.
Some of these thunderbirds are thought to be non-extinct versions of the pterodactyl of all creatures. And remember, we discussed the dinosaurs possibly in Alaska last week. Well, the pterodactyls have been spotted, like he said, all around the world, to include areas of Arizona.
In Native American lore, these creatures take on more of a supernatural presence, with abilities such as affecting the weather. They are able to project lightning bolts, and are involved in heroic lore. Today, many people see them, as mentioned, as a giant bird, or even in some retellings as a form of pterosaur that time forgot.
And that might not be the only thing that time forgot. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen.
Here is the interesting thing. Even when I was compiling my list, I wrote down about the photograph I saw years ago of a pterodactyl-like creature nailed to a barn, and a few cowboys were standing below it.
Now, before we go any further, do you guys remember this picture? I absolutely remember the picture he's referencing. In many years of studying cryptids, I've seen this picture more than once, and it actually was a hotly debated one, as I remember, because the skeptics said that it was a hoax, that the cowboys just kind of made it up, and the other ones not made it up, but made up something to look like a bird that big attached to the barn, and others said no, that's completely real. That's evidence of giant birds. I personally remember the picture of the bird with its wings spread, nailed to the barn, with the cowboys standing around it with the guns. I do remember that picture. So do you guys? Because if so, check this out. You are going to be absolutely mind blown. To quote my Arizona friend, Mr. Moneybags, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe this.
When I went to look up this photo, I found out that this instance is actually a form of the Mandela effect.
And tell me, Ben, why is it a form of the Mandela effect?
Apparently, a lot of people remember this photo vividly.
Yeah, I completely remember that photo, let alone it being a controversial one.
But no one can find it, and even stranger, there are no records of it existing.
I'm sorry, do what?
I can honestly say I never knew this memory of mine was actually a mystery.
And until doing tonight's show, neither did I.
The story behind the photograph remains, however.
Now, if that isn't true Mandela form, right? The photograph no longer exists, but the story of it, that still exists. So, according to the skeptics, right, we all completely misremembered this because we heard the story and we had a picture in our minds, and all of our minds just happened to picture the exact same thing. No, I don't buy that. But it's interesting that the story remains. So what is the story, Ben?
According to the story, on April of 1890, 2 to 3 cowboys from Tombstone chased down and killed a giant bird that had leathery skin with no feathers, its feet had long talons, and its head was that of an alligator. It sure sounded a lot like a pterodon to me.
I have to agree, Ben, that sounds a lot like a pterodactyl. A lot like that creature in the picture that I remember, as a matter of fact.
Now, the story gets stranger when in 1930, during a celebration in the area, a man stepped forward claiming to be one of those cowboys. However, he claimed the story about the event was wrong, and that the creature was right, but they never were able to kill it. He claimed the horses became too startled to move, and the bird simply flew away.
Which still would not make sense as to why they had in one reality, of course, I remember the picture of the cowboys with it at the barn. Like, they had to have captured it and hung it on this barn and took pictures beside it. I completely remember this picture, but apparently this picture has never existed. And moving on from the cryptids, now we're going to move into the UFO stories of Arizona. And, of course, Arizona has, if not the most documented case in all of ufology. And this, of course, is the case of the Phoenix Lights.
Now, the Phoenix Lights were a widely reported UFO sighting in the night sky above Phoenix, Arizona. It took place on March the 13th of 1997.
And this year makes 24 years since the Phoenix Lights incident.
And there have been previous lights in the sky, reports of that sort of thing, for months, even years prior to the Phoenix Lights incident of March the 13th. But there was something about that night. It was a bigger sighting. More people saw it. As many as 20,000 people.
And the reason for so many witnesses at the time is because the Hale-Bopp comet was coming through and people were actually outside to look at that. Instead, they got the surprise of their lives.
Are estimated to have seen these lights in the sky that took on a V-shaped formation and stretched out to what many believe to be about a mile wide in the sky.
And there have been numerous reports of these craft being extremely large. You remember our Alaska report, last week? And the pilot said that the ship that was around them was made the airplane look like a very small vehicle. The airplane dwarfed this spaceship. whatever it was. So it's not unheard of to have craft a couple miles wide or long in the sky. What is unheard of is to have 20 or even 200,000 witnesses seeing this thing at the same time.
There are videos of this event. There are pictures of this event. This was covered on local news in Phoenix, Arizona. This was covered on national news. This was a huge deal, and the Phoenix Lights incident remains one of the highest profile UFO sightings in the history of paranormal or whatever activity that you want to call it.
Actually, the Phoenix Light case is not only the most, or one of the most well-known ufology cases, it is also one of the most well-documented ufology sightings of all time.
This is one of the most widely seen, witnessed events. And there was an unidentified pilot who actually called it in as he was landing his plane in Phoenix, and he talked about how he had seen these lights in this V-shaped formation, and to let the tower know what was going on, that he saw them and it was to be reported.
What is even more wild is that people at the tower could not see anything on the radar. They were literally looking at it with their own two eyes, but it was not appearing on the radar at all.
And then this is where the story gets really interesting, because in the years since March the 13th, 1997, the Phoenix Lights incident has only grown bigger in its reputation, in its mystery.
But one mystery was actually solved that had to do with the Phoenix Lights.
But it was in 2017 that Kurt Russell, on the press tour for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, talked about how he was the unidentified pilot that called in the story.
So the unidentified pilot a moment ago that called it into the tower as he was landing and letting them know there was an unidentified object out there was no other than Kurt Russell.
And so on British television, while sitting next to Chris Pratt, Star-Lord himself, he tells the story about how he was flying his son Oliver into Phoenix so he could see his girlfriend, Oliver's girlfriend. And they saw these lights in the sky, and they were huge. There was 6 lights, and the formation was huge. And he said his son even asked him, "Pa, are we going to be okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I better call this in, though." So he called in that there was a series of 6 unidentified lights flying in the sky. The literal definition of a UFO, unidentified flying objects. So he called it in, and they were obviously worried enough about it to make a thing, to call it in and to have a conversation about safety. So they landed, and as Kurt Russell recounts the story, and I'll add the video, I'll link to the video in the description, as well as at the end of this. He talks about how the weird part about it was, after seeing this UFO, he completely forgot all about it. He said that his son never again brought the topic up to him. It's not something they talked about, and it completely left his mind. He was like, "I saw a UFO, and then I forgot about it." So it was years later, he came home, and Goldie Hawn, his longtime partner, was watching a documentary about the Phoenix Lights. And they were talking about the unidentified pilot that had called in the event to the tower, and he said, "Wait a minute, that's me. I called that in." And he went back and he checked his flight log, and it was him. He had recorded it and reported it. But what's more interesting to him than seeing the UFO is that he completely forgot about the incident. So what are we to make of that? That Kurt Russell, who was a pilot, which is cool, number one, but then that he saw a UFO and then forgot about it. And he even talks about being kind of dazed upon seeing the lights, that he was kind of in like a reverie, like he was kind of in a quiet daze. This is interesting things, and Kurt Russell, I think, to me at least, is a credible source. I believe that Kurt Russell is one of the best actors. He's my favorite actor, to be perfectly honest with you. But
although I don't think acting is a prerequisite to being a credible source by any means, I do believe in this case Kurt Russell is definitely a credible source, especially just the way it played out. And he was able to match it up to his flight logs, and it's not like he was looking for attention. He actually had to put it together later, years later, and figure out that he was that unknown pilot that people were talking about for so long, in reference to the Phoenix Lights. But the governor of the state actually come out about the Phoenix Lights incident too, except for not in a good way. You see, he held a press conference when it happened and said, "Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we found the culprit," and marched out this guy in an alien suit and ripped the head off the suit, and there stands a human. And of course, it was just a jab at the UFO community, and everybody just got real mad at him. You know, there's just another politician. Well, come to find out, his hand was actually forced to do that, because when he got out of office, things kind of changed.
Clive Symington is now a businessman. He was the Republican governor of Arizona for 6 years, elected when the first George Bush was president. Now, a decade after leaving the State House, he takes me to a Phoenix park and discloses something unlike anything uttered by any other high-level U.S. politician.
If you had been here 10 years ago and standing out here and looking up there at the lights and the view, you would have been astounded. You would have been amazed.
Governor Symington is referring to what is now known as the Phoenix Lights.
After he left office, Governor Symington actually became quite a proponent of the UFO discussion.
An object videotaped by many and seen by thousands over several nights in the Arizona sky in 1997.
Major sighting here.
It was described by witnesses as larger than a football field and silent.
And as you guys know, I am a huge fan of eyewitness testimony, and in this case, there were thousands of testimonies of what they seen.
It was a giant V, all right? And the right side of the V went over us. The left side was like a couple blocks over it.
We just didn't know what to do. You know, it was just like, my God, how big is this thing?
The great state of Arizona, Clive Symington.
The former governor, a Vietnam Air Force veteran, had never publicly acknowledged seeing it until now.
And I suspect that unless the Defense Department proves us otherwise, that it was probably some form of an alien spacecraft.
Once again, the voice you just heard was from, quote, officialdom, end quote. This is the ex-governor of Arizona, and the best he can figure, shy of the Defense Department knowing, is that it is aliens from another world. There you go.
So why didn't he say anything then? Partly, he says, because he didn't want people to panic.
I think as a public figure, you have to be very careful about what you say, because people can have pretty emotional reactions, and I said my goal wasn't to try to stir the pot.
And he went to humorous and controversial lengths not to stir the pot.
Lengths that, rightfully so, really upset the ufology community, because at the time it appeared as just another politician poking fun at the UFO phenomenon, which us in the UFO community know is very real.
He held a news conference after the Phoenix Lights to announce the mystery had been solved.
And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused into the room so that we may all look upon the guilty party. Don't get him too close to me, please.
In the alien costume, the governor's chief of staff.
This just goes to show that you guys are entirely too serious.
UFO enthusiasts were not amused, especially since the governor was believed to have seen nothing. But now he's coming out.
I can totally understand taking a humorous point of view. As you guys know, I'm all about humor. I try to use it a lot here on the show. I love a humorous point of view, and I get what he's getting at, but I think he kind of abused his office there. I don't agree with his idea. I think he should have come out and been more open to the people. And even though it took him a couple years, he did just that.
The lights were really brilliant, and it was just fascinating. It was enormous. It just felt otherworldly. You know, in your gut, you could just tell it was otherworldly.
Symington will be talking about this in an updated film about UFOs called Out of the Blue. He has also talked with an organization that wants UFO information more out in the open.
And of course, this was many years ago, this report we're listening to right now from the governor, or the ex-governor of Arizona, but it goes to show that we've come a long, long way. And ladies and gentlemen, I happen to know that in 2 days from now, the fabled report from the government, the UFO UAP disclosure report, is due to Congress on the 25th of June. So, of course, I'm going to do my best to get my hands on that report. I have a feeling I know what it's going to say, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions on the air. So we'll wait till we get the report in hand and see what we can make of it. And we might start a whole new Thursday series just on that report, right? But yes, it has come a long way. I remember December 16th and 17th, 2018, when for the first time in my life I seen a story on the front page of a newspaper that took the UFO topic absolutely seriously. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to go ahead and take a network break right here, and we'll be back with some more insane paranormal stories from Arizona right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your weekend has begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, The Mystery of Arizona, for Wednesday, June 23rd? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show will return again tomorrow night, Thursday, June 24th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do, with a howl at human-animal hybrids. Ooh, I'm excited. Bats, wolves, shreks, frogs, all sorts of human-animal hybrids tomorrow night. Join us. Be here or be square, as the saying goes. I'll return again then Friday night with a look at confidence, what builds it and what loses it. Friday night, our exploration down the rabbit hole of confidence. Join me along that deep, deep rabbit hole, if you are confident that you can handle it. Then Saturday night, decisions, what to do. What to do? How to formulate decisions, how are decisions made, and what, more important, influences our decisions. That'll be Saturday night, and then we'll end out the weekend right together with you with our Visual Sunday summer series, The Sideshow Circus. Now, if you've paid attention to the fantastic fun show at the beginning of the month, and you know the visual changes that we've been doing to the broadcast on Sunday nights, you are going to really enjoy this. We are going to shock and awe you Sunday night as we end out the weekend right together with the Sideshow Circus visual broadcast. Now, I will remind you that this is the last weekend that we are on air before the first weekend of next month, which means next Sunday night, July 4th. Can you believe it? The big bang bangs go off, and so will the battle in the potential new name of the Fantastic Fun Show. The all-new Fantastic Fun Show, July 4th, Sunday, next weekend. Can you believe it? My, oh my, how time does fly. We'll return to tonight's broadcast, The Strange, Mysterious Arizona, with Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we have traveled from the frozen wilderness of Alaska last week down to the sand dune desert of Arizona this week. So drop your winter gear and get ready to sweat as much body weight off as possible, right? Ladies and gentlemen, so far we've covered the cryptids of Arizona, which seem to be a kind all of their own. And we've also talked about the most famous UFO incident of all time, which just happened to be the Phoenix Lights incident. Our next story on the list, though, dwarfs both of these as far as the insanity of the paranormal in this next story. You see, if you guys have listened to my buddy Pete over there at the Creepy Little Book YouTube channel, shout out to you, Pete. I really appreciate the support you give us all the time over there, my friend. If you guys listen to him over there, you've heard him talk more than once about the Stardust Ranch incident. And the Stardust Ranch is, well, it's a story that you don't normally get. It's a UFO story that isn't your common UFO story. You guys have heard of the Skinwalker Ranch. Well, this is just as bad, if not maybe a little worse, than the Skinwalker Ranch, just not as well known. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you the case file of Stardust Ranch.
20 years ago in 1996.
25 years ago now.
Psychiatric therapist John Edmonds and his wife Joyce, who was an ex-FBI employee, purchased a blissful ranch in Rainbow Valley, Arizona. It had everything John wanted and was a place where you could quite literally disappear from the rest of the world. But from the moment they moved in, things took an unpredicted turn that has since caused the Stardust Ranch to become one of the strangest and somewhat unheard of properties in the world. When John and Joyce spent all of their money on purchasing and moving into the Stardust Ranch, from day one they realised it was not the plot John had always dreamt of. For starters, the previous owner had left all of their belongings behind, and after contacting the real estate agent who sold them the ranch, John was told that it would all be moved within the next few hours.
So this is your first clue that something is really not right. When the previous occupants wanted to leave so quickly and so badly that they even left all their stuff, that's one red flag right there. But that's not the only red flag that would arise. That was just the first one.
When John returned later that day, all of the owner's belongings were piled into the swimming pool on the property. John was furious and rang the real estate agent who got in contact with the previous owners. They said they visited the ranch that day and seen their stuff in the pool, assuming John had moved it in a fit of rage for them to collect. They refused to take it away and John had to dispose of it himself. The question is, who moved all of these belongings? John has never really said who or what he thinks was responsible.
And as far as I know, that part of the mystery has not been solved. So there's the second red flag, the way that thing played out. But here comes one of the biggest red flags of all.
Then, just a few days after all this commotion, a rough-looking man approached the ranch with a machete in his hand. Being in the middle of nowhere and help being miles away, John was on edge but still went out to talk to him. This man told him that he lived on the ranch, and after John told him to leave, thinking he was crazy, he mumbled something that will stick with John for the rest of his life. "You are going to wish I was here. You are really going to be sorry. There are monsters on this property, and I kill them." The man turned around and left, and John has never seen him again.
Now, what would you do, right? If you just bought this property, you've already had one insane incident occur, and then this guy comes wandering out of nowhere with a machete and says, "Hey, man, look, you're going to want me around. I kill monsters here." I mean, the most logical person would go, yeah, whatever, get out of here. And that's exactly what the guy did. Turns out, the one with the machete may not have been as crazy as he once sounded.
Shortly after this encounter, the couple started noticing orbs and strange lights in the sky surrounding the ranch, and also saw helicopters and military jets appearing to be interacting with them. It was around this time that the supposed visits from the Greys began.
And of course, in today's pop culture, you don't exactly even have to be into ufology to know who the Greys are.
John has described them as being around 40 inches tall, with large compound eyes similar to a fly, and grey snake-like skin that is cold to the touch. These Greys apparently appear in groups of 3 and invade their home at night.
Interestingly enough, a lot of the UFO case files that involve these short Greys usually involve a group of 3 or 4.
Over the many years this has gone on, the Greys have apparently become particularly attached to Joyce, and she is described being frequently attacked and molested by them, and is always unable to scream whilst this is going on.
Which is yet another common complaint by a lot of people who experience actually seeing or running into these creatures physically.
She has also had puncture-type injuries as if she has been stabbed with a syringe, and sustained large bruises on her inner thighs, stomach and shoulders after the believed assaults. And John has also experienced a case of missing time and transportation, which he believes was down to being abducted. Enough was enough, and John decided to buy an arsenal of weapons to protect him, his wife, and also his animals. You see, John has been and still does use the ranch to look after rescued horses and dogs, and on more than one occasion, he has been horrified to find his horses mutilated with their tongue and eyes removed.
Something about the tongue. In cattle and horse mutilations, they take the tongue every time. It's something about the tongue they're interested in. I don't understand it. But this is becoming a common case file almost, as far as the interaction with the Greys and the evidence that is left behind of these said interactions. It's pretty sad that he's trying to do a horse sanctuary and dog sanctuary and these aliens keep attacking him. But remember, the guy with the machete warned him. He fought the monsters on the ranch.
He also lost 3 Rottweilers who apparently attacked a Grey and died a week later, despite not receiving any visible injuries in the attack. When the next attack came, John was ready at hand with his guns. This time it was on his wife, who was apparently being abducted and drawn outside to what he describes as a cone of light. John shot at the Greys and the craft with a rifle until they retreated. I know what you're probably thinking, this guy is totally insane.
And at this juncture, you would be right to think as such, I'll give you that.
But it doesn't end here, not by a long shot. This is actually where things get even more intense. For many years, John and his wife were very reluctant to talk about the activity for fear of being humiliated. But what they did do was collect some fluid and a chunk of tissue that was stuck on the end of John's sword after he had stabbed and killed a Grey.
That's right, so apparently John took to sword fighting these things and literally had a fight with a Grey where he stabbed him through, run him through with a sword, which of course ended up with skin and blood samples from said Grey.
The entire body had disappeared like usual, but the chunk on his sword had not, so this was sent off to be analysed. The samples were sent to Michigan to the renowned biophysicist W.C. Levengood, and after tests, this is what he came back with.
Alright, so not only have we got these samples, we've actually sent them off for scientific evaluation. Let's find out what the scientist actually said that they found.
The fluid appeared to be pure hemoglobin, similar to samples collected from unusual cattle mutilations, linked to alien life in recent years.
So it directly connects to cattle mutilations and alien supposed life that has been, I guess, studied by some of these scientists, and they happen to know, I guess, what the alien life signature is. I'm not entirely sure.
And the blood did not match any other animal or human specimen to have ever lived on Earth, apart from the sites of cattle mutilation.
Well, that narrows it down from being anything that we know of scientifically terrestrial to Earth.
The skin sample also looks like segmented grass, but it wasn't grass, it was an unknown plant cross animal-based material that has never been seen before.
An unknown plant cross animal-based material. So this is a plant animal or an animal plant. We don't have any hybrids, to the best of my knowledge, on this planet like that yet.
Initially, Levengood was very excited about this discovery, telling John that he had the holy grail proof of alien life visiting Earth. But then something changed. Levengood stopped corresponding with John and showed no further interest in the project. Then, unexpectedly, he was killed in a freak accident in his lab, and John claims the samples went missing.
And this is also classic government interference, stepping in and saying, leave this alone, stay away from this, nobody can know anything about this. And apparently they couldn't take the chances of him being alive and knowing the secret, so they made an accident occur in the lab. And we know the government is great at making accidents occur. Government is the most accidental people I've ever met in my life.
Now, what's interesting is Dr. Levengood is the real deal. He is not made up, and his death actually happened. So this is one you cannot say is made up, and you could say it does add some credibility to the unbelievable stories John has shared.
In a story like this, any parts of the story that can be verified is definitely a plus.
Despite not giving too many interviews due to many visits from the supposed Men in Black, which John said are pale white and alien-like, much like the typical Men in Black I have talked about in previous videos, John's demeanour is also very convincing, and it's hard to dismiss him and his stories as completely false, due to his career credentials and seemingly normal personality. But if this is the holy grail of alien life, then why is this story so unheard of, and why haven't tons of people been there to investigate?
Which is a great question, because even within some of the ufology field, this is considered a bit of a fringe case file.
Well, it has been on Coast to Coast AM, where John made an appearance, and a research team did visit some time ago and believe they spotted a grey which dropped this stone-like object. After being analysed, it was said it would be near impossible to recreate this on Earth, as the star is carved dead in the centre of the rock and is also slightly tapered. There was also a recent Ghost Adventures episode that seems to have sparked some more spotlight on the Stardust Ranch. What the Ghost Adventures team found was incredibly high levels of magnetic field, similar to those found around the site Travis Walton claims he was abducted by aliens in 1975. Which is actually not that far from the Stardust Ranch.
And I totally forgot that Travis Walton's abduction was also in Arizona. So it looks like the aliens love Arizona. And it makes you wonder, like maybe they come from a planet that is just really, really hot and desert-like over the whole planet. That's the best environment for them. Because the Southwest and the Midwest seem to have a majority of UFO sightings. Think about it, from Roswell and from Nevada and New Mexico and Arizona, and that whole area, that whole corridor does seem to have a lot of UFO sightings. Then again, Area 51 is also in that corridor.
They also discovered that the son of a previous resident had killed himself in the sitting room, leading them to believe there is both extraterrestrial and paranormal activity going on at the ranch.
And it would suggest that perhaps maybe it isn't aliens from another world after all, but perhaps it could be interdimensional aliens, especially when you throw ghost activity and orb activity in here also.
However, despite them all feeling uneasy, they did not capture any greys on camera, but John believes that he has. During an interview with Kerry Cassidy for Project Camelot, it appeared that two, what John believes is greys, were in the background peering over his shoulder.
So there is some accidental evidence of aliens caught on photograph, just nothing that has been purposefully taken.
Who knows what to make of the stories that John has shared over the years? Even he himself has said he can see how people would think he's crazy, and he would have a hard time believing them. Now, that doesn't make them any more credible, because there are still things that do not add up. Like, why doesn't John have cameras set up all over the house? And if everything he has said is true, and like many believe the Men in Black and alien cover-ups exist, do you still think he would still be talking, or even alive, if he had the holy grail of alien existence? But then again, he has stated many times that there is nothing in this for him, and he is torn apart by what has happened to him and his wife, and what was supposed to be his dream ranch. And if you've seen any of his interviews, he seems pretty convincing. So once all is said and done, there are three scenarios for what is going on here. John is making everything up for fame, profit, or attention. He is suffering from sleep paralysis or some kind of mental illness and is seeing things that are not there, which he believes is real. Or he is telling the truth, and the Stardust Ranch is the most interesting and overlooked place on the planet involving extraterrestrials.
But what do you guys think? That is a pretty wild case file. One of the wildest case files I've ever run across, and one that has been pretty well suppressed by a lot of agencies, and even a lot of researchers don't really dig that deeply into it. But this guy seems pretty convincing. I've seen a lot of interviews and, just snippets and things like that, and if you listen to him talk, if you watch his mannerisms, this is a guy that wasn't out for fame or fortune. He had something happen to him that has drawn him to the brink of fighting back. So once again, whether it's in his head or whether it really happens, which I expect it does if you compare this with the rest of the amazing alien events that have occurred around Arizona, then I am inclined to believe that this is what's real. But in the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is listen to the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun is only just begun. That's right. I will be back tomorrow, June 24th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with an all-new episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show. That's right. As a matter of fact, all shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Tomorrow night, I will be talking about animal-human hybrids. There's been a lot of stories of these, from frogmen to goatmen to dog and even mothmen, right? Like we heard about earlier tonight. We're going to cover all that and more tomorrow, June 24th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on the Darkwolf's Den Show. Then on Friday, June 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit takes back to the airwaves for an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. On Friday, he'll be talking about confidence. Either you have it or you don't, right? Confidence is a key skill to have in this world. Having confidence can take you a long, long way. And AJ will be discussing all that and more on Friday, June 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. Then on Saturday, June 26th, 2021, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit's going to be back with yet another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. On Saturday, he's going to be talking about decisions. Maybe you can use some of that confidence you found on Friday and make better decisions on Saturday. That's right. He's going to be talking about decision making and all that goes into that. Then on Sunday, June 27th, 2021, he's going to be back with one more episode around the weekend, right? And he's going to be talking about, well, this is actually a special episode. This is going to be part of his summer visual series. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Visual Sunday series. And it's going to be the Sideshow Circus. He teased it last week. He said we might go to the circus. Well, this Sunday, we're going to do just that. We're going to take a visual trip to the circus. I hope you guys are enjoying these summer field trips that AJ's been taking us on. I know I have. The museums were lots of fun. If you guys haven't been on that road trip with us, go back and check out AJ's last episode last Sunday. That was a really fun road trip through museums that you may not have heard of. And that's going to round out the weekend right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio and RippinRabbitHole.com. Speaking of the RippinRabbitHole.com, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hop on over to the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find the sign up to get your VIP pass. That's right. It's going to allow you access to the rest of the site. Go ahead and sign up for our newsletter and get your backstage pass. And once you do that, you'll not only receive a newsletter from us once a week, but you'll also open up access to all the wonderful things we offer on the site, like the Down the Rabbit Hole section. That is our exclusive social media section over there. Do make sure you drop down the rabbit hole and say hello to the rest of the rabbits down the rabbit hole there. There's quite a few of them. Then, while you're over there and you want to hang out with the rabbits some more, come on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right. My favorite hangout, where I'm going to be right after the show. Also, on the first weekend of every month, the first Tuesday of every month, as a matter of fact, Champion Sports Nation hosts the Tuesday night videos back in the Backstage Lounge. That's a Backstage Lounge exclusive show that you can take part in every first of the month. And come on back and hang out with us and get kind of familiar with the Backstage Lounge before the show, and you'll be much more comfortable when you're playing. That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm going to head here in just a moment. But before I do, I would like to mention once again, if you would like to support us here at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, there's a variety of ways to support us. You can go check the website for different things we have on sale over there, as well as Different information down in the description box of both the rippinrabbithole.com as well as the DarkWolf's Den Show YouTube channel. And we have recently started accepting cryptocurrency, so if you would like to send us some cryptocurrency, we accept many types from Bitcoin and Ethereum, LiteCoin, Doge, down to the smaller ones like SafeMoon and a number of others. For information to help support us that way, information in the details box below. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I have to get out of here. My time is up. It is an honor and a pleasure to do these shows for you guys every week. So on behalf of Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Walt House, everyone involved with Rippin' Common Sense Radio, Mr. Tom Bayless and this amazing music. Get it, Tom. Tom Bayless, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Tom Bayless in Red Shed Studios. Information in the description box below, as well as in the chat here, as our mods are putting it up right now. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Get it, Tom. We got a couple seconds left. Break it down, buddy. Man, I love that beat. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. On behalf of Rippin' Common Sense Radio, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody.
Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a